But it is fascinating to me about how many things in show business, film, TV, that they have gotten right. There was something that you mentioned. Oh, this. The Dark Fleet looks like Star Wars, uniforms, pale skin, arrogant.
Hmm.
The Mayan breakaway group looks like Oompa Loompas from Charlie and the Chocolate
Yeah.
Factory. And I thought to myself, okay, with Star Wars, I'm like, did George Lucas get a vision, a dream? Is he approached by insiders? How do so many people in the business
Hmm.
able to get things pretty accurate?
They're seeded with information for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Star Wars is basically a documentary. It's a documentary of the history of our solar system. So the Death Star thing is true. We have apparently moons in our solar system left over from an ancient civilization that are extremely advanced, that are weapons. They did blow up a planet in our solar system, and the so-called deep state or Illuminati or Cabal believe themselves to be the descendants of this destroyed civilization, transmigrated to the Earth, and when they got here, they had elongated skulls compared to the rest of us, much higher intelligence, and that's where you get your divine bloodlines and the right of kings and all
They
this.
acted like gods.
Yes.
So the Dark Fleet, would we say that's like the Death Star, if we're going to do an analogy?
Well, the Dark Fleet was the what after decades originated as the German Nazi fleet that they had, and they dropped the Nazi name and it just became known as Dark Fleet. Very little was known about it until fairly recently. We got a lot of intel on it. But it was just one of a number of secret space programs. Most of them didn't even know about each other, most of the programs.
And there was Germans along with like reptilians
They were
working
serving,
together.
They were serving alongside reptilians, going to other solar systems, causing problems with the reptilians, fighting side by side with them.
Which is exactly the same thing that William Tompkins had independently put in his own material, not knowing that we had disclosed it on Cosmic Disclosure.
Oh, wow.
And even Whitley Strieber, who wrote the original abduction books in the 1980s, like Communion Transformation, I was on a panel with him, and he was talking about having recovered memories of some of his abductions in which the people abducting him were not Greys, they were people in full black uniforms, which is the definition of the Dark Fleet. He didn't know that when he said it,
Oh,
but we'd already talked about it.
that's wild.
Yeah.
I love
So,
those confirmations.
and then the Draco Reptilian ships look basically the same as the Death Star destroyers in Star Wars, which is not an accident. Guys like Arthur C. Clarke, who did 2001, or George Lucas, they were given briefings. They were told what to write. The C-3PO android, apparently, there's like many hundreds of thousands of those that have been found on these ruined moons all over our solar system. That there was a lot of those things, and they found those, and so they told him how to design it. This is what I heard.
To hear all the Star Wars fans freaking out right now, going, I need to find those.
Or laughing, but you know, it's
Yeah.
okay for people to laugh. That's
They
the
can look
first
at our
step.
they can look at our information and get the real version of Star Wars if they like.
Right, that's true. That's true. I can't wait
Sure
for
enough.
your future projects too to see where that goes. I do want to talk about. Let me start with Elon Musk. Where are your guys' thoughts on him and what he's trying to do?
Well, I think that Tesla is an example of an asset that is in place where, like with his Gigafactory that he's going to be making batteries out of, I'm familiar with various technologies like silicon graphene anodes or graphene batteries, where we have a much higher energy density that they can produce than regular batteries, to such an extent that an electric car, you could have it drive 100,000 miles without needing to charge it. So it's basically free energy at that point. So I do believe Elon Musk has been given briefings because he seems to know an awful lot about artificial intelligence and why it's a bad thing.
I'm told a lot of people that there are a number of people he brought into his organization that had connections in the programs. So he's getting briefings within his own group.
It is interesting for someone like him to be aware about the AI, the bad AI,
Yeah.
if you will. Can you explain what that is? Because people might not understand.
Well, they call it AI. They really don't have a name for it. This was some other dimensional type of intelligence that encompassed its whole dimension. It had taken over its whole.
Is it an entity?
It is an entity. It is a thought form, but when it came into our existence or reality, it was like a fish out of water. It had to exist within like the electrical fields of planets until like a ship came by, and then attached to the electrical field of the ship, and then into the people. and then they could start affecting the people's thoughts and feelings.
Wow.
But what they had done in many, many galaxies around is they had infiltrated the galaxies, infiltrated people's technologies, and just like popular Hollywood shows we've seen in the past, they turn the technology against the people, and then they take over their civilization. And it's happened billions of times.
But it seems to hate biological life. It wants to emulate us. It makes androids that look like humans. You know, it wants to get into our reality because it seems that this intelligence feeds off of our negative energy like a sugar high. It needs pain, misery, fear, depression, suicidal ideation, violence, treachery, betrayal, lying. All those kinds of things actually give it energy and power for some reason, just like you have bugs that will feed off of excrement.
Right.
It's the same kind of concept.
And we have ETs that are what we call AI prophets. There are two different lines to ascension. There's the technological ascension, where you put your consciousness into technology or that type of thing, and then there's the spiritual one that we were talking about earlier. And beings like the reptilians, negative beings, when we were finally able to capture some of their higher caste, capture their bodies at least, they were full of nanites.
Ooh.
And these nanites were in subspace communication with this AI intelligence, and it was controlling them. They served it, and they would cause misery on purpose because they would able to feel the loosh through the technology in them, and also the AI being got a kickback.
Oh, wow.
Well, and let me throw this in. This is really good. Getting back to Star Wars for a minute, what is Darth Vader? Right? Like, he's had his arms and legs cut off.
Right.
He requires technology to exist. He is a man and machine combined. And so the briefings on this exploded planet in our solar system is that the AI got in there. That's why there's all these C-3PO looking things everywhere. And these people were like Darth Vader. They had become cyborgs, basically. And this thing, we are on that timeline of what the AI wants to have happen. It wants to start with the smart devices, and everybody's walking around looking at it.
Right. We're already addicted.
Yeah.
Then you go wet wired, where it goes into your body. You have an implant, and you're now online all the time.
An electronic hive
and your mind is online.
They're working on that now, correct?
Yeah, they already, to a varying degree, they have different parts of the population to where they use a part of the person's brain function like a slave device. They're processing information for this AI using people's minds in a lot of cases.
Do these people give permission, or it just
No,
happens?
They were unaware. A lot of these people, and it affects their behavior and their lifestyles, of course, but they don't know why.
Can I blame my bad decisions on that?
Sure. I'm going to now.
How is it beatable then? Because it seems like unbeatable.
Check this out. The solar flash is an EMP, right? So all electromagnetic devices get turned off and erased when this happens. And it appears that this AI is very ancient. It's all throughout the universe, and that the universe uses these solar flashes as a way of spraying some raid in a solar system at the end of a cycle to get rid of these guys.
Wow. But can it come back?
Mm-hmm.
Not unless we allow it to.
Right.
Got it. But
over time,
okay.
it will come back into a solar system. After like 1,000 more years. I'm told when it's right after the pulse that the energies are like sour milk to them. They can't take the energy.
This is also why extraterrestrials want to have humans as workers, because nobody wants to have androids. Androids are totally susceptible to being infiltrated by this stuff. So unless you're already working for that agenda, you do not want to use robots.
Right.
So they need people who they can train and get them